Discovery's 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
All right, everyone, welcome to today's ASRG webinar. But before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about ASRG and get some of the legal stuff out of the way. ASRG is a nonprofit organization founded to support the development of the automotive security industry. We have developed a platform and a community to share knowledge, communicate through networks, and to build value with collaboration. This is a community for you, built by you, with the goal to protect our friends and family when using automotive products. If you want to learn more about ASRG or get more involved, please visit our website at www.asrg.io or send us an email at hello@asrg.io. Before we jump into the presentation today, let's get some of the legal stuff taken care of. The views and opinions expressed in this webinar are the views of those that have made them. They do not represent views or opinions of ASRG and are to be considered as informational. The use of this information is to be used by the individual and/or organization at their own risk.
Hi, greetings everyone. This is Faye Francy from the Auto-ISAC. I'm the Executive Director, and I'm so pleased to be with you today to talk to the Automotive Security Research Group. We're going to talk about the importance of collaboration and our 2021 Annual Threat Report. What is an Auto-ISAC? And I know I've been here before, and I know many of you already know what an ISAC is, so we'll kind of clip through this pretty quickly. But an ISAC has been developed for many, many years in the United States under a public-private partnership. It started back in 1998, actually. And part of the reason why it was established was to protect critical infrastructure here in the United States. And that is to really help to elevate security and resiliency across the mission of that particular sector, and of course, transportation being one. What happens is it really helps to integrate cyber physical resilience and risk management, and also provides a collaboration platform for the industry, as well as a reach out to the government sector. And this model has now been promulgated throughout the world, which is really fantastic. So ISACs sit at the nexus of public-private information sharing. And that is really needed in the automotive industry. The connected vehicle is a fantastic new and exciting element in all that we do and in our lives. But of course, with connectivity comes cyber risk. The more connected, the more the risk grows, as many of you know. So with that, we'll go on. And what is an ISAC and how does it help? Organizations individually act to manage cyber risk, but from a company detection perspective, it's really important to know what else is happening within your sector and across the other sectors. So what an ISAC does is help one company's detection become another company's prevention. Very important to building that resiliency across the industry. And it really helps us to pool resources to fight the adaptive cyber adversary. We are very focused in the Auto-ISAC in the mission of the connected vehicle, but we have expanded into IT and OT as well. So managing the infrastructure and, of course, the extended enterprise, very important from the purposes of building that cyber resilience. And we basically are a collaboration platform where we allow folks to be able to come in and to share timely information with regards to cybersecurity and cyber physical risks and vulnerabilities. And we do that through a mechanism of many different legal agreements, but also with the collaboration of every member coming in who voluntarily provides that information. And it's very important because it helps to maintain and understand the current threat landscape. We're also a learning environment. The Auto-ISAC really looks at cyber is all about learning. We are constantly learning what cyber is and what it means, and we do that on a daily basis. So besides that threat sharing, we also have a number of environments, number of activities within our environment that allows us to share additional information and to learn from each other, which is really, really relevant. We have analytical products and assessments, and I'll go over a few of those. We do tabletop exercises. We do in-person as well as virtual. We do that at every level, from the technical folks all the way up through the executives and the lawyers. And we have quarterly workshops, so we do get together and meet and go over interesting activities. We even have a member teaching members activity, as well as a partner teaching members activity. We have working groups where affinity groups, if you will, of like mind will come together and work on specific areas. So I want to give you one particular example. The suppliers have come together and have decided they want to build an automotive software bill of materials, or an SBOM, which is really important to vulnerability management. We have another group that's working on an automotive attack framework, using the good work of MITRE, but trying to put that in terms of automotive. So these working groups are really important. They provide a great deal of value to our membership, and they also ultimately, hopefully, will provide that value to the greater ecosystem. We have standing committees that work on our work products and what we focus on. And of course, we do engage with partners and our community calls, our annual or monthly town hall meetings, as well as our annual summit, which happens once a year, of course. Our member roster, we're at 65 with 5 that have been approved, so we'll be at 70 probably by the time that you hear this recording. Now, what do we share? So that's always a curious question. What do we share? And we really are not a threat feed. That's not what we do. We basically are sharing the information that we get from all of our membership and from others who wish to share. We do have certainly connections in with the government. We have connections in with partners that provide additional information and sources. But really, the best information comes from all of our members working together. And we help to really, as the ISAC, aggregate that, analyze it, and really figure out what's very important to share across the community. And that really helps us to officially identify the threats in a very quick manner, detect vulnerabilities sooner, and deal with mitigation techniques, and really helps us to understand what is the current risk and how do we sew that up. So what we share: incidents, of course, threats, vulnerabilities, any sort of situational awareness that may be relevant. Of course, we find a lot of software vulnerabilities in libraries, and that is, of course, equally shared as well. Our scope is really focused in on cyber intelligence at this point, as it impacts the automotive industry, and now we are including IT and OT. We follow a handling protocol called the traffic light protocol, and this was introduced through DHS. I think it originated out of UK, actually, but the NICE framework uses it as well, and that's basically like a traffic light, and it's how we handle the information or the data that we have and how we handle that with regards to the membership. And then, of course, if we have a incident that's really important or it's affecting many people, we have a criticality on our communications that is identified. Partnerships are really important to us because they add a richness to the automotive ecosystem, and it could be anybody working in. So we do not require you to be a member. We do say that you can be a partner, and a partner can be anybody, even down to the individual level, and there's no cost for that. So we encourage anyone that's really active and wants to be engaged in the automotive ISAC and what we do. Please join us. Please let us know, and we will get you involved in what we can. You won't have the same access potentially as a member, but nonetheless, they do get access, and we do share things with them, which are very important. So really, they help really bring and broaden the relationship to our membership. We share learnings and, really great learning on how to do certain things based on our partnership's capabilities. We also showcase them, of course, at our summit, and they help to sponsor us at the summit, which we greatly appreciate. We have government folks coming in. We have standards organizations like NIST, and certainly we have MITRE and many, many others that come in and do share and do presentations for us and providing great value. So when it comes to actually information sharing, some of that really good stuff, we have our members there up in the left-hand corner. We have our AutoISAC analysts that work with the member. Most of our analysts are not necessarily automotive experts, but we work with them to either anonymize the data and information or help them filter through. Is this real? Has somebody else already seen it? Is there some mitigation techniques we're already aware of, et cetera? And we work back and forth with them to do what we need to do, and then to notify the rest of the industry. And we also work externally as well, as I've mentioned, with our partners. That includes many, many different people, as you can see all the different logos up there. And that helps us also understand the broader sense of what's going on across the threat landscape in other ISACs, which are very valuable. ISACs share information with each other, certainly with the government as needed, and of course with some of our trusted partners like MITRE and SAE and others. Well, what's trending? So I wanted to give you some interesting stats I collected last month, and it's not surprising. In fact, I just read one this morning from my team. The FBI had just released their stats that cybercrime has gone up over 64% since 2020. Pretty scary thought. Global connected vehicles jumped 134% from 330 million in 2018 to 774 million in 2023. Absolutely amazing as that projection is. But by 2025, a connected vehicle will produce 26 gigabytes of data per hour and 50 gigabytes if autonomous. That's a lot of data, right? That's a lot of data. And of course, we saw an increase in sophisticated attacks as we have rounded into the 2021 ecosystem. And in 2021, the majority of hacks were carried out by black hat hackers for automotive. Now that has turned the tide into white hats being the predominant folks that are letting us know about these hacks. The segment of the automotive industry hit was widespread, though, across all segments: OEMs, tier ones, EVs, fleet management, car sharing, rental car dealerships, ride sharing, etc. So we are not an exception anymore. We are getting hit. In 2021, we saw an increase in the use of sophisticated cyber attacks. Very much, and you see some of the items up there. Advanced attack practices are creating a heightened awareness across the industry of how any point of connectivity is vulnerable to new threats. So kind of scary stats, if you will, or kind of wake-up call. If you've read the Upstream Annual Threat Report, which is very good on the right-hand side, they basically list the common attack vectors, and that stays consistent with what we're seeing in the automotive industry as well. This gets to the amount of code, the amount of software that we have in these vehicles. In fact, when I first came over from aviation, I was stunned to learn that there are more lines of code in a connected vehicle than a jet fighter plane or 787. In fact, almost 3 times as many. So with that, of course, means there's opportunity. Looking at where we see a lot of the attacks, a lot of it's still about simple, basic auto theft, right? I mean, that is still what drives a lot of folks to want to do things. But we've seen an incredible increase in ransomware. And of course, the supply chain, which is the newest, biggest challenge. And so the ransomware has just gone off the charts since COVID, as many of you know. So it's not if, but when. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the statistics on how we measure ransomware attacks. It pays, and that's why it continues to happen. It's 10% of all breaches now. It's doubled in frequency in 2021. According to Verizon, government worldwide have seen over 1,800 increase in ransomware attacks. Healthcare sector alone faced 750% increase in those attacks. And that's pretty stunning, right, when you look at that. CISA reported in February 2022 that 14 out of the 16 U.S. critical infrastructure sectors, of which they have ISACs, have been hit with ransomware. They've become so common that they no longer measure it in terms of seconds. It used to be measured in terms of every 14 seconds a company was hit. Now it's in terms of minutes, and now it's in terms of seconds, right? So the metric is now a new company is affected every 14 seconds in 2019, but by 2021, it's every 11 seconds. So quite an interesting stat there. In the last 6 months, there were over 590 million in ransomware-related activity. This is very consistent with what we just read on the FBI report. And according to the U.S. Treasury Department, they see that there's been about 416 million reported in ransomware-related costs. So it pays for these guys to use ransomware. That's why it's really going. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about our annual report. And we produce an annual report that kind of gives you a sense of what we do as an organization, which includes all those other things I've just mentioned, but also our threat analysis. And what we do is look at what we saw, and we give a projection or judgment around what we believe we're going to continue to see. So with that, as you can see, it's about a 30-page report as far as the actual what is an ISAC, what do we do, what's happening around the ISAC, a little bit about like what I had just shared with you, and then another 30-some pages for the actual threat assessment. Now, right now, this annual threat report has been approved to be released only to members, but we hope by May 1st, by the time you get to hear this, we'll be able to release the annual threat report out to our partnership. And of course, ASRG is a very good partner to us, so we'll do that. So let's talk about what that looks like. So basically, again, it articulates what we saw, but it really is projecting onto what we believe we're going to continue to see. That's what's really, really important, right? And so it describes in detail, though, what we did see. And so there's 25 pages of that detail, what happened in 2021, some very specific details. We collaborated, and some of that will be taken out or will be anonymized, but you will still see the data. Collaboratively, it was developed by our member companies and our intelligence staff here in the AutoISAC, working together with the analysts in our analyst working group, as well as our IT/OT working group. So the members are very active in producing this. It's very real time, very much automotive. Its purpose is to inform automotive organizations of strategic perspectives and assist with identifying, assessing, and addressing cyber risk. And so there is a little note about what's a threat, what's a potential threat, and so forth. And so that you understand our language and how we adjudicated and classified things. So there's 7 key judgments. I'm going to quickly go over the 7 at the high level, and then I'll give you a few more details on those. So ransomware groups, it continues, as I've just mentioned, it pays. So there are cybercrime attacks on automotive companies across the board. We're seeing those resulting in disruption of business and industrial operations, including loss of sensitive information. Vehicle thefts in the U.S. decreased significantly in 2019 and then spiked nearly 11% in 2020 when COVID took hold, well above the previous 5-year annual trend. So vehicle theft is expected to remain elevated in the coming year. The true scope of global technology-enabled vehicle theft activity is unclear due to the lack of metrics of different theft tactics. From the next 3 judgments, barring technology-enabled vehicle theft, malicious cyber actors on connected vehicles are not occurring. So that's really a very important note here, because while we continue to do more in technology, what we're seeing is not that happening. So researchers are finding and reporting connected vehicle vulnerabilities to vehicle manufacturers. Proactive imagination of how new and old vulnerabilities, malware, and tools could lead to cyber attacks that threaten vehicle safety and will keep the industry ahead of potential threats in the continuous evolving threat environment. So very interesting activities, as you can see there. And I'll give you a few more tidbits here on each of these, right? So again, the ransomware groups will remain an urgent daily threat against automotive organizations. There is publicly accessible leak sites on the dark web indicate ransomware groups have perpetrated or even enabled dozens of attacks on automotive organizations, from OEMs all the way through the supply chain. Other cyber criminal organizations will remain a threat to automotive organizations and suppliers' IT, OT, and sensitive information. Cyber criminals have targeted automotive OEMs, suppliers, and service providers with attacks that exfiltrate sensitive information and certainly mine cryptocurrency. State-sponsored APT groups will remain a threat to automotive organization and suppliers, IT, OT, and sensitive information. The Microsoft Exchange Server and SolarWinds supply attacks have been attributed to state-sponsored advanced persistent threat groups. Victims included private sector organizations, as we all know. And so we see this could remain a threat, although we haven't seen, large-scale activity there. The risk of technology-enabled vehicle theft will continue to increase. Although there's no indication technology-enabled vehicle auto theft is poised to explode in 2022, there is also no indication that it's going to decline. There was a significant year-over-year increase in auto thefts in the U.S. between 2019 and 2020, but before that, auto theft was relatively stable, interestingly enough. It's unclear how much technology-enabled auto theft occurred in recent years and how much is likely next year, but we anticipate auto theft to still be a key element. Malware-infected websites, applications, and files accessible via internet-connected devices will remain a potential threat to connected vehicles. As interactions between connected vehicles, smartphones, and other internet-connected devices continue to increase, so will the cyber threats to connected vehicles. Threat actors and researchers alike are racing to find and exploit new vulnerabilities that will yield significant financial gain, notoriety, or praise from nation-state sponsors. Proactive imagination and consideration of potential attacks on connected vehicles that could materialize via known or novel vulnerabilities in smartphones or other internet-connected devices is imperative. So really have to keep an eye out on those items. Malicious exploitation of vulnerabilities in information, communication, or operational technology will remain a potential threat to connected vehicles. Black hat, white hat, and gray hat hackers alike are racing companies, security teams to find the next software vulnerability for financial gain, notoriety, or praise from nation states. If cyber threat actors acquire researchers, tuners, or enthusiasts' exploits and tools, they could potentially leverage them to perpetuate malicious attacks on connected vehicles. Proactive imagination and consideration of potential attacks that could materialize via newly discovered vulnerabilities that have a nexus to connected vehicles is imperative. Cyber threat actor use of nation-state quality cyber weapons will remain a potential threat to organizations across industries, including automotive. Cyber incidents reportedly resulting in theft, exposure, and deployment of nation-state quality cyber weapons have occurred in recent years. Considering the adverse impacts of these incidents and major cyber attacks against government agencies in this past year, automotive organizations and those in other industries related should remain cognizant of the high impact, low likelihood potential for such incidents to occur without warning. Well, with that, I want to also now give you a little bit of a look at how and what we're doing for our quarterly threat assessment. So we also provide our members with a quarterly update of what's trending. In our community call, we do a shortened version of what we call what's trending in the month. So if you're interested, you are allowed to sign up for that as a partner. But for right now, we'll talk about what's been happening in Q1. So in the Q1 of this year, we'll give you the bottom line up front. Ransomware groups continue to have targeted at least 26 automotive manufacturers, suppliers, and service providers. There's no indication that Russia's war on the Ukraine has yielded cyber attacks that will have adversely impacted automotive IT, OT, or the connected vehicle cybersecurity. Cyber threat actors continue to diversify social engineering tactics, techniques, and procedures to infiltrate business networks and industrial systems. Notable vulnerabilities in IT and OT and connected vehicle systems continue to be found. There are at least 5 incidents of data leaks resulting from third-party cyber incidents. The ransomware groups have targeted at least 26 of our automotive sector. Some notable incidents are listed there on your far left-hand side. Suspected Conti ransomware compromised 5 automotive companies. And ransomware is reportedly not yet deployed in the compromised networks. So please be mindful of that, and we have a list of some of the activities there. Impacts. Network infiltration by malicious actors continues to happen. Customer, employees, and OT information It's been exfiltrated, some sold on the dark web as well. One day, industrial ops shut down to a business-to-business electronic data interchange happened and shut down, the global internet exchange. Dealerships, both the commercial activity, were also shut down for a few days. And there have been no production impacts, but fairly significant from an impact perspective, I would say. And we see these things growing. And on the far right side, as you can see there, I have a list of what we see as some of the current most active groups. With that, again, let me go back to there's no indication that Russia's war on Ukraine has yielded any cyber attacks for us, but I think one has to remain vigilant because this could turn at any moment. Maintain that heightened vigilance for malicious activity in your business networks and industrial systems while multinational pressure remains on Russia during this war and will probably remain after the war as well. Beware of destructive malware, such as, you've seen Whispergate, some of these other ones that are listed there. Ensure incident responses and continuity of operation plans are updated and practiced. We can't emphasize that enough. Make sure your incident response plans include us and make sure that you practice those on a regular basis. There are several resources that we provide to our members that may or may not be as relevant, but we do provide a weekly, a daily activity, which is shared with the partners. And then for our members only, we do share something called the CAR, which does provide them some more specificity around that. And we are currently in a state here in the US of what we call Shields Up. And that's based on our CISA partner, our government partner, who is monitoring the current situation around the ransomware on what's happening specifically in Ukraine and Russia. Other notes, Ukrainian government agencies and banks have been attacked, but there's been minimal spillover, surprisingly. Key TTP is phishing, as always, in most ransomware and everything else that we see. The key tactics, techniques, and procedures continues to be phishing. Hacking groups are taking sides, whether they're proactive Russia or proactive Ukraine, and we've seen that happening quite a bit as well. So with that, let's talk a little bit about the cyber threat actors. They continue to diversify social engineering tactics, techniques, and procedures, and they do that because they get in. And so some of the common TTPs we have listed here, using corporate website contact forms to distribute malware, impersonating a supplier, impersonating a government agency. I've had a couple of those in the last week coming to me. Using phishing kits, using cloud services to distribute malware. That's kind of a scary one. Employing phishing and business email compromise attacks. Employing phishing to deliver spyware via short-lived malware, using device registration for lateral phishing, employing old tactics such as right-to-left override, interesting one, using social media platforms, of course, for phishing, and then compromising Microsoft Teams to spread malware. So it's all over the map. It's everywhere. They're finding every possible open window or even cracked window to get in. So I wanted to talk a little bit about notable vulnerabilities we're seeing in IT, OT, and the connected vehicle systems, because they continue to be found. From an IT perspective, of course, everyone's familiar with the recent Apache Log4j. There were several multiple zero-day activities as well in first quarter, internet connected device issues, router net USB, and of course, firewall break-ins. From an OT perspective, of course, Apache Log4j, wireless disruption of combined charging system, electric vehicle charging, critical C-level device, multiple 0 days again, and Umbron PLC software. And in the connected vehicle world, Apache Log4j, Blues, Spectre BHB, AutoWare and Apollo, QNX Neutrino, PLC4 trucks, RF-induced remote write. So again, seeing different things across the board, but very active. Well, there's been at least 5 incidences in the first quarter of data links resulting from third-party cyber incidences. Threat actors accessed a non-member supplier's database affecting multiple members. Great way to get there. Threat actors obtained customer data of multiple members from unknown sources, and that happened on 2 separate incidences. Threat actor claimed to have obtained customer data of multiple members from an insider. That's not been confirmed, but likely. Threat actor claimed to have internal and sensitive files of a separate branch of a member company. Impacts: hundreds of thousands to millions of customers' PII information was stolen and sold on the dark web. Sensitive internal information was offered for sale on the dark web as well. That's how we found it. So, outlook for the second quarter is ransomware and other financially motivated cyber attacks will remain an urgent daily threat to the automotive manufacturers, suppliers, and service providers, IT, business operations, and all sensitive information. Cyber attacks on IT will remain an urgent daily threat to industrial operations due to incident containment efforts and IoT-enabled IT-OT interconnections. Cyber threat actors will continue to leverage new and old vulnerabilities and social engineer tactics to perpetrate the above-mentioned cyber attacks. Russian state and non-state actors will remain a threat to automotive, IT, and OT, including after the country's war on Ukraine ends, as long as multinational economic and social marginalization of Russia persists. Currently, there's no indication that state-sponsored attackers are attacking or planning an attack against connected vehicles. Technology-enabled vehicle theft is a well-known and active threat, and we consider it will continue to be so. With that, I want to come back to a little bit of closing up for what is our trajectory. And as the AutoISAC, of course, we are working together with the government in multiple areas. As you know, we've stood up Europe. Our European group has been active now for over a year. We have Dr. Martin Emily, who leads the group there. And we continue to make very strong relationships there with government as well as here. And we will continue to do so. Of course, working across the private sector is job one for us. We will continue to focus on resiliency, understanding the risk, the threat, and the mitigations, that shared situational awareness that helps us all understand what's happening out there so that we can provide better defenses to our own companies. And remember, one's detection is another's prevention. We have a working together framework. The connected vehicle framework and roadmap that we've developed is very important. It's needed to be understood, and it's needed to be constantly, we have to be constantly vigilant with it. International cybersecurity strategy is essential. That's why you see what we've done in Europe. And of course, we're working very closely with the Japan team and the Japan AutoISAC, and we greatly appreciate our partnership with them. We have as many Japanese, as European, as US-based leaders on our board, so we're a very global company. And we will continue to coordinate and understand both policy as well as what is happening in our automotive cyber domain. Our mission is to have zero safety-related cyber incidences, so it's a pretty lofty mission. Okay, with that, if you are interested in getting involved with us as a member, you do have to be in the connected vehicle space, and you can certainly join. And so there's some information there about what we do. I've mentioned many of those already and in the past. But if you are interested in membership, Andrea Schoen is our membership leader, and her email is there on the slide, Andrea Schoen at automotiveisac.com. She'd be happy to take any calls or help you out. If you can't remember that email, go to our website. There's a contact us. And then as far as partnerships, again, really important. Anyone can join as a partner. You can have an individual partnership with us. And we encourage that. And that gives you access to our daily driven newsletter, which is a web scrape, but nonetheless, it helps you put that in perspective. And you get invited to our monthly town hall meetings. Of course, they're on DC time, US DC time, East Coast time. But we record those and we place those on our website. So if you want to go back and look at any or see who some of the speakers have been, we encourage you to do so. At that monthly town hall, basically, we sort of open up with what we're doing in the ISAC, kind of a very quick summary of what's happening during the month. We have our intelligence officer, Mr. Ricky Brooks, who comes in and provides a what's trending slide, what's happening today, this quarter, or this month, this month. And then we have our CISA partner comes in, and CISA gives a broader brush debrief on what CISA is seeing across their spectrum. Then after that, it's about half an hour. We go into a 30-minute update from invited special featured speaker. And that speaker can talk on any number of things. We've had NIST in, we've had MITRE in, we've had individual folks come in and do presentations. And so this month we had Autos Innovate in. They came in and talked about policy, for instance. So we always have an interesting, dynamic speaker that comes in and various different topics. And if you're interested in possibly presenting to us, please contact us. Sharmila Khedka is our focal for the partnership side, and her email address is there. If you don't remember that, just contact us on our website. There's a contact us form. This gives you a little bit of a breakdown of what it means to have a community partnership, which is what I'm talking about. And any individual can do so. There's no formal agreement required. There's no approval required. You basically get added to our distribution list, so we spam you a little bit on what we're doing. You're invited to our monthly community calls. You hear about what's trending and so forth. So hopefully you'd like to join us. If you're a company and you want to have a little stronger engagement, we have a strategic partnership that's on the right-hand side there, the left side. And the strategic partnership allows for companies to have a specific agreement with us, and we would do a project together to enhance the engagement. And this is just a quick welcome that we use for the community call, and it just tells you, like, we're really happy to have anybody join that. It is classified at TLP green for partnership, which means you can't repeat the words that you heard, but the slides will be at TLP white. So we hope you'd like to connect with us and join the community. We'd love to have you. I know what an exciting community ASRG is. I love all that you are doing. I've had several meetings with you and certainly with your leader, and really appreciate the great activities and the meetup activities that you do. It really matters. So I applaud all the great activity. With that, that's all I have today. I want to thank you for your attention. I hope I added some value to your day and for listening to this webinar. And I wish you well. Thank you so very much. Stay safe and secure out there. See you online. Cheers.